Good morning, Stitch Roadies. How are you all doing? Well, let me hear how you're doing. Today is going to be just a bit of update, but mostly just conversation between you and me while I'm stitching. Weather-wise, we're faced with 7 days of drizzling weather, which this is we're adjusting to this weather pattern, but it snowed on the other side of the mountain on the pass, so May has proven to be a little bit different than you would anticipate. Yeah. I'm ready for some sunshine. But when I go on Instagram, I see that across the country, people are having challenging, unexpected weather patterns. And in watching Flosstube, you hear it over and over again on, So I feel like I am on the other side of the mountain. What we had was Bob Shaw's weather report, and yeah, done with the rain. Want to be able to take the kiddos outside, and it's a mud puddle. So what happened this last week? We're all I think fairly adjusting well to the changing patterns in our family. Our younger son and his family are going back and forth between two households while their house is on the market, and you don't realize how much you forget. Maybe it's that you forget how much work it was to raise children. You just kind of put your nose to the grindstone, and if you came out on the other end, you could breathe a sigh of relief as a parent. But watching a young family navigate this world you just have to give them a lot of kudos, because it's not the same world, and we thought our world was so hard. Now it's just, I don't know what you think, but I think it's harder to raise kids now. Maybe that I'm older. I have been getting my yoga exercises just in dealing with my two young grandchildren, going in and out of baby gates. my middle grandson, he knows how to open and close everything, and so he opens and closes them for me, because I'll sit there for 20 seconds trying to figure out how to get the baby gate open. So it's I mean, there's sometimes you just have to laugh out loud about it all, and then other times you just kind of crash because you're so tired. And how these young families do it now is truly, you're in awe watching them. You are in awe watching them. Yeah. But it's been fun. I mean, when G and I wake up in the morning, we can hear the pitter-patter of feet and squealing and crying, and all those sounds of a family getting ready for the day. And it's like music. Yeah. Although there are times when you just want to have just a quiet moment. And I recognize that's just my age. In needing that quiet moment. Yeah. it would be so much easier if it wasn't raining. Then we could go out and play. Our backyard is just like a mud pit right now. We had a guy stop by to give us an estimate in cleaning our pond, which I think is a necessary thing to do. I don't worry about our grandkids falling in and drowning. The pond is not deep enough. But I worry about them getting a staph infection if they have a cut on themselves, which they always do because the water is just so filthy. Algae growing, you know, all kinds of, yeah, it hasn't been taken care of in probably 20 years, so it's time. So we've got that on our spring agenda, or our summer agenda. What am I talking about? Spring is fast passing us, yeah, but it's on our summer agenda. With this change in our family pattern, all of my honed plans have gone out the window. So I have several deadlines that I have to meet. We have, in my life, I have the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show coming in July, and I have to have things done before that. So, whereas I was thinking, oh, I'll do this, you know, how you make your list a mile long, I've decided that no, I need to buckle down a little bit on, so that I'm not, you know, when I was in college, I was that student that was always studying 24 hours before the final exam. I am so over that behavior. It isn't good for me. So I am going to kind of take a moment here and reevaluate how my schedule is going to work out so that I can meet those deadlines. Yeah, it'll make it more fun, because you never want to be stitching where you're stressed. Stitching is supposed to be fun, and you always want good juju in all your projects, and that is why I'm going to spend some time this week reevaluating what I need to do. I've been trying to get a hold of my friend Stacy from Buttermilk Basin. I know she had a fall in which she was injured, and I hope that she is recovering well. I haven't been able to connect up with her, but I am teaching one of her classes this summer at Quilter's Affair, and I'm looking forward to that, and I've got to get my stitching going for that project. We'll be camping a bit in May. That's going to be fun. Yesterday, G and I took the day and we went down to the wine country of Oregon. It has nearly quadrupled since the last time we had been in that area. There must have been a new winery about every other half mile. I was shocked, but all I could think about was, oh, this is going to be great harvest host camping for this summer. I'm looking forward to that. And so we'll be going back. But we stopped at a couple of, or four different antique places actually, in the Lafayette area of Oregon. And although I didn't find anything, G did. He has, it's so fun to watch him dive back into his love of woodworking. When I first met him, his two main hobbies were black and white photography and woodworking, fine woodworking. He would carve and build instruments, and he was just a fine, he had that talent. The man is talented. His father was talented, and so he got that gene. So he was finding some tools. He loves to get old tools and new tools, and it was fun. And he got to talk to one guy that owned a small shop that had a ton of woodworking tools. Yeah, so he found stuff. I did not find stuff. I think that the stitchers and sewers of the world are cleaning out all those antique items. Maybe Lisa from Kindred Stitcher had gone through already. She seems to find stuff all the time. Yeah. And this last week I went and spent a couple hours stitching with Cheryl, who is one half of Stitching with the Sisterlies. She's still kind of homebound, and so I went over there and we sat and stitched and talked, and it was just a sweet, quiet time to be together. And we are both going to be going to Acorn Gathering in September. So that is going to be a blast. That is going to be a blast. Just to have something to look forward to. Yeah, so I have some great things ahead of me. I have the quilt show. I have you know, the Acorn Gathering. I still have on my calendar the Farm Girl retreat in October. Good times, good times. So my older son, he was working on Mother's Day, and so this last week he and his son came by for a family dinner, and the brothers were together, which it warms a mother's heart when your adult sons get together. You know, if you're the mother of sons, you know what I'm talking about. But there was lots of laughter, and luckily for us that day, it was a halfway decent day, so we could sit out in the evening in the backyard with the fire pit going and laugh and talk. And my oldest grandson was having a great time hanging out in the backyard. He is so funny. He just lights up my world. He lights up my world. Yeah. You wouldn't know it by looking at me that I have a red-headed grandson. Yeah. So that was a great evening. Great evening. And you take those times when you can be together and you tuck them in the recesses of your heart so that when things seem gloomy or down, you bring them out and you just live them again. You live them again. I made a great vegan Korean dinner. Even the little guy, the baby, I made some what's called pocket sushi. He ate 2 of those. I could not even believe it. And he loves G's tofu. I don't know everything that he puts in it, but he pan grills it with gochujang and sesame oil and soy sauce and hot pepper. I mean, my grandchildren are savory eaters. They love the spicy. They're just like their grandfather. They love the spicy. That was just a lovely time. You know, lovely time. And in between all of that, I've been stitching. I don't know if compulsive is the right word. It sounds so, I don't know, it has a, do you think it has kind of a negative connotation? I know some people call it focused, and focused is good. Focused stitching is good because that is a component sometimes of ADHD behavior, is you get hyper focused. And so I've been stitching on a Plum Street sampler piece called Gobble. And this piece has been so fun. I can't, and it's interesting because a lot of times I like the linen, and I can tell that this was a piece of Ada that I purchased at like a craft store. It came folded up in a little clear plastic baggie and was hanging on a rack. And I brought it home and I lightly dunked it in coffee to give it a little bit more oomph. And then I just used the called for DMC, and the colors are fantastic. But I suspect I shall be done with this today sometime. And so there it is. This is going to be another star finish for me for May. All I have left is the word gobble and a couple of acorns. The thing I want to tell you about this piece is when you make a mistake, there usually is a way around it. And when I stitched, I tend to stitch all the border first, and in my mind it was supposed to be symmetrical. It's the same distance from each other all the way around. But when I looked at the pattern after I got the border all stitched, because I didn't even look at the pattern as I was stitching, once I got a rhythm I was just going for it, and I said this has to be so many squares over. What I found out was that the designer made, it was like 2 inches or something was different. I can't even see it now. And so I worried when I made this inner, was doing this inner border, I noticed that the way she had it charted, well now I can't see it. Oh yes. So this here is 2 spaces below this outside border. And it was 3 spaces from this bottom outside border. And when I got down there, I realized, okay, I didn't follow the chart exactly. I went with, this should, you know, I was following my own path, counting and making it exactly symmetrical, which made this only 1 space down here, and this was 2 space. So I looked at it and I said, am I going to unpick all of that? And the choirs opened up and sang in their angelic voices, hell no. I'm not sure the angels actually said that, but I heard that. To compensate for that deviation, I'll call it, from the pattern, normally I would start stitching from the top and move down, but I knew that I could adjust these words. But if my turkey ended up sitting too low, that was not going to work. So to adjust for that deviation that I made from the pattern, does this make any sense? I decided to start from the bottom and move up because I knew that it would be easy and no one would notice if the words were 2 rows or 3 rows different. than they were in the pattern, and it's perfect. It worked out perfectly. Why am I telling you all this? Because before you start ripping everything out, really think about, is there a different way to approach the stitch that you can leave the deviation and still complete the project to your satisfaction? Because that's the only person you have to please, really. When you look at those old samplers or stitches done by, you know, in the 1800s or 1700s, you can tell no one was ripping out to make it correct. They just kept stitching. But we have in our mind somehow that we have to attain this level of perfection in our stitching. Well, I have to tell you, this is by far, and I really encourage all of you to stitch this chart. This is by far the most magnificent turkey. I absolutely love his feathers. It's just beautiful, and I'm so excited that I'm almost done, that I'll have another finish. The other start that I had this month was a kit that I got from Acorns and Threads. When the Flowers Blossom. I'm a sucker for kits that include all of the things you need. So it came with the box that I have to paint that will be red just like this box. Janine has the box. And in this particular case, I chose the Fancy Floss, which is mostly Gentle Arts and Weeks. And I gave it a good start there. So this is, I started in that upper corner around the house, the upper house. I just love what it says. The flower doesn't dream of the bee. It blossoms and the bee comes. I love that. So that was a perfect May start. What I really have been enjoying is that Audrey from the Flosstubes Stitchy Witch 42, which you must, yeah, you must visit her Flosstube, because she brings a whole different sense of humor and look at life that I very much enjoy. But she gifted me 4 of these little magnetic thingamajigs. And if you go on Amazon, I am sure they're listed as magnetic thingamajigs. But it's a way to keep your fabric rolled up, because it's 2-sided magnet with a rubber thingamajig holding it, and I love it. I love it, because before I was just, my fabric was flopping all over the place. So that was my second start for May. I keep my, you know, you gotta have the AsTheYooFlies Floss Blings. It says spring. She doesn't look like there's any rain on there. Gosh darn. Yeah, so I thought we'd just kind of stitch together, doing a little chit-chatting. I felt bad that Cheryl didn't get to go to the farm girl gathering. Oh, you have to see this pillow. I made this pillow. I went on a cruise. The stitching pillow, it's enveloped, so it's a real easy pillow to make. But this was by, it was a cruise that my girlfriend and I went on that had primitive gatherings and Buttermilk Basin. And we had 2 projects on that cruise, and this project was the primitive gatherings stitching pillow project. But I wanted to show you what a clever idea this was, is that on one side of the pillow you stitched a scissor holder so that you always have your scissors right there on your pillow when you're stitching. And you can do that on any that cruise was really something. It was let me think, it was to the Bahamas. Of course, let's see, where's my pattern? We had to be really careful because it was at the time, okay, now I can't remember. I swear, sometimes, the virus that was transmitted by mosquitoes was prevalent in the area we were. And if you were pregnant, I know, like we could get pregnant, but there was a gal who was actually pregnant on the cruise with us. Was that if you were bit by one of those mosquitoes that was carrying that virus, that your baby could be affected by it. And what was really scary at the time was that even if you were too old to get pregnant, if you were bit by the mosquito and had that in your body, and then you came home and a local mosquito decided to bite you, and then it went and bit someone that was of pregnancy age, and they got pregnant, that there could be problems with that pregnancy. It was just the most bizarre thing. And so we were really careful on that cruise. And I hate mosquitoes anyway. I know they must have some kind of purpose, but because when I get bit by a mosquito, I totally swell up. I mean, it gets the size of a tennis ball, so. But it was a fun cruise. It would be fun to go on another stitching cruise. I've only been on 2. I've been on that one with Primitive Gatherings and Buttermilk Basin, and then I went on one with Sue Spargo through the Panama Canal. That was amazing, absolutely amazing. Would you go on a cruise now, given what I mean, the thing about when you hear about a cruise ship that's totally isolated medically, it must be tough. I have a former classmate of mine, and we worked together way back in the day. when we were labor and delivery nurses. She actually was, at one point in her life, she was a cruise ship nurse. And I can remember that, let's see, we were on a cruise. It wasn't a stitching cruise. It was one that I was on with G. And I realized that she was on a ship that was docked at the same time in the port. And so I was able, this was back in the day when security was not like it is now. Now you can't just walk on a ship. But it was back in the day, and I walked down and walked on the cruise ship that she was on and went down to the medical bay and was walking down the hallway, and I was yelling, "The baby's coming! The baby's coming! The baby's coming!" Because we were labor and delivery nurses. Of course, she was now a cruise ship nurse. And she came running out. It was so, well, you had to be there. It was funny. It was funny. But I remember her telling me that, I said, what is the number one thing that you have to deal with medically on a cruise ship? And what I noticed was there was boxes of rid in the medical bay. And she said lice. Lice. Because back then, everybody, I'm dating myself. These stories are probably totally ridiculous to you. But back in the day, when she was a cruise ship nurse, Bo Derek, remember that movie 10? Was it 10? Where Bo Derek was running on the beach and her long blonde hair was corn-rolled with beads. Do you remember that? Like, she would run and they would just, yeah. So when people would get off the cruise ship, naturally, there would be all kinds of people who were on the docks who wanted to give you that hairdo. Comb and beat up your hairdo and stuff. But they didn't, it's not like a beauty shop where they disinfect all the combs in the special glass-filled container that had disinfectant in it. No, they used the same comb on everybody. Yeah, I'm glad I never did that. But it was funny. I did look up one time, a couple years ago, if there was a vegan cruise, because that's the hard part for someone who has, and they try to accommodate you. They in this day and age, they are trying to accommodate you with the different food allergies that people have and all of that. But what I have found is a lot of times you end up with the same meal over and over again, like maybe 5 different meals, but there's no variety. Not like when you walk on a cruise ship and there's all these gorgeous creations and every night's a different night. No, they can't really effectively do that. It would be financially difficult. And so yeah. It's and when you think about the price of a cruise, and that part of the cost is what you're spending on having all that food and drink available, it's not really worth it when you have when you've chosen a different food life. I guess I would call it a different food life. it's been really easy with the family here part-time because my younger son and his family are vegan, and so my daughter-in-law is a fabulous cook. Between her and G, we are not starving at all. And like last night, her friend Katie came over for dinner, and she made this whole platter of roasted vegetables, you know, asparagus, zucchini, beets, and then she made a bowl of mashed potatoes and made like a lentil stew that you poured over on top of the mashed potatoes. Oh, man. I had 2 servings of that. That was so good. Well, be sure that you check at the end of this video for the winners of the gift card for acorns and the rabbit cross stitch, the rabbit and the rose, I think it's called, because I'll have G post the winners for that at the end of the video. It's going to be so great to have another finish. This is going to be finished by today. I know that this is going to be finished by today. And then I can pick a new one. Oh, where did I put that? Oh, when I went to Cheryl's house, I took my projects over there in this bag. Isn't it beautiful? It's just a beautiful bag. And this is made by Cross Stitch Fancies. On Instagram, she's Stitch Fancies. So Cross Stitch Fancies. But I had another start in here. And again, I've got my floss, my AsTheYooFlies floss bling. I didn't realize I had started so much this month. But how could I not? I mean, I saw Lori, Textstylust, and Lisa from Kindred Stitches, and a gazillion other people on Instagram who were stitching this, and I had purchased this at Acorns and Threads. And then when I went there this month, I got the fabric, and do I know what this fabric is called? Yes, I do. I do. It's a 36 count vintage country mocha, and I got that at Acorns and Threads. And I just decided to start with this particular one. I just love that. I just love that. And I have this big piece. I'm doing them all on the same piece of linen, and then I will, once I get them all done, I will make them into little pillows. And I just love the whole display of this in a little wood tray. And so Janine has this, and I'm using, combination of Fancy Floss and DMC. They basically use a lot of the same colors, so it's going to be fun. Yeah, there's that one. All those sweet little tomatoes. And all I have left on this one is the bottom of the spool, the thread in the bottom of the spool. and I'll have that one done. So that can conceivably be ready ready to move on to the next one. And which one would I choose next? I'm thinking that I want to do this one next. My soul is fed with needle and thread. The great thing about these is they're really easy. There's nothing difficult about these. And I mean, one of them is mostly, let me see, where is that one? Mostly buttons. The gal in here, the one with the woman, she has a hiney like mine. Yeah, like this one. Look at that. That is just one little tomato and a bunch of, several of the old buttons. That's like a 1-hour project. And I couldn't help myself. Let's see, where did I put it? Oh, maybe I left it in here. Oh, this is the other thing about that bag, is it came with this triangle snap that has a place to hold your scissors and your extra floss while you're stitching. I love clever bag makers. Well, I don't have it here, but I did buy a pin that had a red tomato on top. Hope I didn't lose that. Yeah, I know many of you have said you're watching reruns because current TV is not really worth it. And I have been too. I've been watching Castle. And last night we actually paid to watch a movie. You know, you can order streaming on demand. And, you know, it probably wasn't worth the money to buy it, but it was okay. It was a Sandra Bullock movie, and it was a basic rom-com. What was interesting is that the antagonist in it was David Radcliffe from Harry Potter. All grown up. He's an adult now. We tend to think of him as a little boy still, Harry Potter. But he was the bad guy in the movie. And it was called The Lost City. Yeah, not quite as good as what was that movie called with Michael Douglas? Romancing the Stone. Not Michael Douglas. Yeah, was it Michael Douglas? Romancing the Stone. Yeah. That was, Michael Douglas was that, no, Kurt Douglas was his dad. Look at me, trying to make my brain sharper. I've been playing Wordle. But Romancing the Stone, now that was funny. Danny DeVito, that was just laugh out loud funny. This didn't quite reach that level of humor. but it was better than a lot of the stuff on TV. Yeah. So we watched that last night. I mean, it was expensive, but you know, we used to go to the theater quite a bit. I was a big moviegoer. I loved going to the movies. And I haven't been inside of a theater going on 3 years now. If I don't go to a theater this year, it'll be 3 years since I've been in a theater. I think the last time I went to an actual theater was in Tucson. It was a beautiful movie theater. And there was nothing better than going to a movie at the Sisters Movie House and Sisters. It was family owned, you know, just you could buy, you know, you could order dinner. There was a brew pub next door, and you could order dinner, or they would make dinner, and you could eat while you watched your movie. And it was you know, Sisters was a small town. It's still a small town, but it's changed so much with all the moving around in the country. It has grown. It has some growing pains, but you could go to the movie theater, Sisters Movie House, and you'd see your neighbor. You'd see, you know, you knew half the people in there watching a movie, and there's a lot of charm to that. There is a lot of charm to that. Yeah. Well, I think I've babbled enough. I'm gonna finish up this cross stitch. Get ready to hear the pitter-patter little feet, and I hope that your day is as contented as my day is. Love you guys. You take care. Stay tuned for that flyer on who won the giveaways. And then if you could just send me your mailing address in an email, that would be fantastic. You take care and keep stitching.